Have you ever thought about how you worship or how you praise? We're continuing on in our sermon series, God's Will, God's Way, as opposed to my way. And so yielding that control over to God. And we're continuing through the book of Exodus with Moses. He's now come to the realization that he needs to save his people from the Egyptians. And instead of waiting to see what God had in mind, he took it into his own hands literally, and it just caused a lot of problems. And so I would invite you to please come join us in worship, either online or in person. We have 3 traditional services here at 4 o'clock Saturday, 8 and 9:30, and then contemporary worship at 11. So if you want to learn more about Moses and also how to follow God as opposed to our own desires, or maybe even what we think is best, I'd encourage you to come be a part of worship with us this weekend. Now, I asked the question of how do you worship? Because one of the hymns that I picked for this weekend, which I dearly love, and maybe it's because it was written in New England by the Quaker American poet John Greenleaf Whittier, who was from the same area in New England as I was. But it's just a beautiful hymn, and the words are profound. Dear Lord and Father of mankind. And I asked, how do you worship? Because he wrote this hymn as a reaction to how some of the people in that area were trying to worship or choosing to worship at that time. And they were, experimenting with some alternative substances to try and get a closer connection with God. And they would get themselves into a frenzy. And as a Quaker, he believed that it was more of a still small voice. If we would just be quiet and listen, reverence, and take time and let God speak to us instead of us trying to go to him and do it on our terms and our ways. And so he wrote this hymn, and I would encourage you to read all the verses. Either go online somewhere, there are many places to find online, or pick up a hymnal if you have one and just read all of the stanzas, because they're all really powerful. But I'm going to read two of them for you. Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive our feverish ways. Reclothe us in our rightful mind, in purer lives thy service find, in deeper reverence praise. And then the final stanza here. Breathe through the heats of our desire thy coolness and thy balm. Let sense be dumb, let flesh retire. Speak through the earthquake, wind, and fire. O still small voice of calm. So instead of taking matters into our own hands, as Moses wanted to do, instead of thinking that God is not acting fast enough, maybe we should just take a minute, step back, and listen for that voice in the stillness. I'm going to play an arrangement of this tune for you by Robert Hebel, and it has some cool harmonizations, maybe a little different. I hope it will make you think about listening differently maybe than we normally do, and just by listening differently, maybe hearing something a little bit different this time. I hope you enjoy.